In today's video, I'm going to be building these 10 web tabs. This has been discussed in the Bricks community and I thought I should give it a go. This is going to be the first time I'm going to be building this. So you're going to see my thought process and how I will go about solving the problem that I encounter. The most interesting part about this is that in the mobile breakpoints, these tabs, they start to become cards. So they are no longer tabs. So you can see it's still a tab here. And by the time it gets smaller, you can see that they become separate cards. So they are no longer tabs. So that's what I'm going to be trying to replicate. So let's jump into Bricks and start. So we're going to be using the nestable element. So I'm going to search for the nestable element, the tabs. So nestable tab. So that is inside here. So I think I should first of all drop a section. So I'm going to add a section here. I'll move that section and then I'm going to drop that tab inside the section. Okay, so our tabs is in the middle of the page, properly aligned. We have, how many tabs do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what I'm going to do is now, to be on the safe side, it's always a good idea to give classes whenever you're working on something that, you know, there are groups of items that are the same. For instance, you have different tabs and you also have the panes, the tab content. So it's always a good idea to give them classes because they will always come in handy. So I'm going to give this a class of, let's say, tab button. So I'm just going to give it a class of, that's not the class, that's a search. So I'm going to give it a class of tab button. And I'm just going to copy style. So that is going to copy over the class and paste here. And then I'm going to give this the class of the content. I'm going to give it the class of tab content. And I'm also going to copy the class, copy the style and paste here. So we need 5 tabs. So I'm going to duplicate this 3 more times. 1, 2, 3. And also we need 5 tab contents. I'm going to duplicate 1, 2, 3. So we have them. So let's see if they are going to respond. So let me go ahead and change the content. So this is 3. So I'm just going to write here 3. And then this is, so it doesn't seem to be responding. So I'm going to just select here 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is content 1, 2. All right, that's 2. And then this is 3. This is 4. And this is 5. So we're going to save that and preview on the front end just to see if it is working. 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically all you need to do is just to duplicate it, nothing else required. I'm going to go in here and I want to set up the design first before bringing in the content. So if you take a look at the example here, you're going to see that these has, they all stretch all the way to the end and then they have an underline. And one thing to note is that the underline is just about the width of the text. So that's about the width of the content of the tab. So that means we will need to retain that content. So I want to try as much as possible to do it exactly the way it is done here. And because of that, that means we're not going to have the paddings on the side. Let me go in and make sure that class is selected. And anyway, for the paddings, I really don't need to use that class. I can use, if I go to the tab parent, now if you go to title, you have paddings, margin settings, so and a couple of other settings. I'm going to be using this. So I'm going to use 0 and so I'm going to make that, but the top, I think the top, I still want to make the top 20 the way it was. So 20, 20. So now it doesn't have any left and right paddings, but it has a top and bottom padding. For the border, what I'm going to do is to give it an active class border. So the active has a border. So I'm going to give it a border of green. Now let me just use hoverify to pick up that green. So it's the same green here. So I'm going to pick that green. And what's that? Didn't pick the green. That's wrong. Should have picked the green, then pick color. Oh dear, it's not picking it. Alright, so let me pick from here. All right, and then I'm gonna copy that green. So let me go back to, so for the border, I'm gonna come here, and the border bottom, I want to give it 5 solid. Now that is wrong, so I need to give so since I'm gonna give okay, it's gonna be the active, not the border. It's gonna be under the active. So the background color for the active, let's take a look at that. It has no different background color, so we're gonna make it white. And then for the border, I want to make it 5 solid, and then I'm gonna put that green color. So let me just paste that green color here, and I think I'd like to add that color. I'm not quite sure how to add colors, so let's see. So I'm just gonna call this tabs colors, create that. So did I? Okay, so that's added. I'm not sure how I did that. Anyway, so so now one thing to note is if I delete this, if I make this 0, you see it's moving this up and down. See, it moves that up, you know. So you want to give the normal state the same width, the same border bottom. So I'm going to go to the normal state, but I'm also going to give it 5, but I'm going to make it transparent. So what I'm going to do is I probably didn't add this color properly. So tab colors, first add your color. So anyway, that is just about adding colors. So let me just paste that hex code there, and then let me just make it transparent. So that's what I want to do. I have not yet gotten a hang of the color stuff here in Bricks. So yeah, so it seems pretty straightforward. So I'm just gonna make this solid. Yep, make it transparent. Yep, okay. So that should work. Let me save that and see how it looks. The front end is reloading. Okay, now we also have Bricks has these lines by default. I'm not quite sure why. I think we need to do something about that. So let me go to the content, and I'm gonna clear out the borders. I really don't need that border. And also for the content, I'm gonna clear off the paddings. I don't need the paddings. Let's save that. Now I'm gonna go in and select the tab menu, the parent of the tabs, and I want to set it to space between. Okay, so I have space between, and we'll want to bring in the titles. So let me go there. The first title is reliable web performance. Let me just drop it there. Reliable web performance. And for the class of this, I'm using the class here. I believe I can target the typography and just give it a font size or a font weight of, say, 600. So that about the same. Okay, so it appears the active has a bolder font. So I'm just gonna give it a font of 500, or let's leave it at default, or 400. Okay, let's give it 600. Let me go back to the tabs and see if we have typography settings for our active class. Yeah, we have typography settings, and then I'm gonna set the font weight to, let's say, 700, so it's thicker. Now I'm gonna select the tabs parent, not the tab content, but the tabs parent, and then I'm gonna give it a bottom margin. No, I'm gonna give it a bottom border, which is gonna be this border here. So I'm gonna give it a border of 1 pixel. So let me go there and then just go to let me just search for border, and then go to solid and 1, and that should do it. And then for the, just give it something like, the color should be let's go back to the default. Yeah, something like that. So I'm gonna save that, take a look at the front end. Let's see if we're getting it. Rather, I will just preview here. Okay, so yep, that color looks a bit too we need something brighter. I think there was a shortcut for this Shift Control P. Oh dear, what did I do? I did something wrong there. Anyway, I was trying to remember the shortcut for preview. Alright. Okay, alternate Control Alternate P. Alright. I'm not quite sure why I still have this. Let's save. Let's see the front end. I'm still having this border around here. I'm not supposed to have this border. Where tab content. This. So why am I getting border? So I'm having that. Okay. Did I? Alright. So that looks okay. So something about that. One thing to note here is that this one has, this border is sort of in between. Okay, it overlaps this other border there, so it's aligned to the middle of this other border. So what I'm going to do here is, because the size of this, the width of this border was 5 pixels, I'm going to select the parent of the tab, and then I'm going to go to the margin. So I will set the top margin to negative 2.5 pixels. So negative 2.5 pixel. That should bring it in. It's not working. Oh, nope, it's not gonna work. So that is wrong. I'll go to the, let's go to the active, nope, the tab settings, and then the bottom. So this is the margin for the tabs. When you select the parent, so you have that negative 2.5. I think that that works. Okay, so that works. So you can see that the border takes the width of that. I think we have a bit too much bottom padding, so I think we should reduce that by half. So the bottom padding was 10, so I'm going to take it to, it was 20, I'm going to take it to 10. Okay, is 10 still too much? 5. Okay, 5 looks good. Okay, let me go ahead and replace the other. So I'm just going to copy this. I have a clipboard, Windows 10 clipboard, so let me see if that's going to work. So I have this. I'm just going to real-time backup. Paste that. Have this. After real-time backup, one-click migration. So one-click migration security, and then user and themes. Save. So the next thing I'm going to look at right now is so we're done with that. We need to separate the content from the tab. So we have a space here. This looks to me something about maybe 20 pixels. So I'm going to go in and select the content, and then for that I'm going to give it a margin of now we had deleted this padding. I think my undo had screwed up everything. Okay, I'm going to give it a margin of say 20 pixels. Okay, I think that's about 30, should be about it. So 30. I will give it a background color, something like this. So let me pick that color. So I'm going to just copy that, and I think I want to give it to the content, not the individual. Okay, yeah, I think it's okay. We should give it to the individual. So I'm going to select this and go to the background, and then I'm going to paste that color. All right. So I've saved that color, and I think that's what I should have done to the green also. Let me see. Can I remember? Get that green. Save. All right. Okay. Yep. Getting a hang of it. Okay. So I don't want the green actually. So this is what I want. Save that. So it's now separated by some distance, and at this point I'll probably, okay, let me come here, and then I want to give this a class too. So at this point I'll probably delete these other ones. So I'm going to deal with one first, so just the first one, and I'm going to give this text a class so we can control it. So I'm just going to call it tab. Oh dear, that is not. I keep going to the search bar. This is very confusing. They should, do something about that. So I'm going to call it tab content text. Let's look at that. So it has a heading, so we need a heading for it, or a title. We're gonna drop in a heading, and by default is H3, which I think is the accurate for something like this. And that I'm gonna give it a class of tab. Oh dear, there I am again. Tab content title. Okay, and for these I'll just drop in the first text. Just drop it in. And I'm also going to drop in the title. Title. And so now we have this image on the right and this on the left. So I'll need to wrap this with a div. So what happens here, this image flushes all the way to the end here, but this text doesn't. So that means this image is going to stay and this is going to be in a div. It's usually a good practice to wrap an image in a div also. So I am going to drop in two divs here. So I'm going to wrap these with a block, and I'm just going to move that there. So I have this inside a block, and I'm going to call that block, there I go again. I'm going to call, how do I get rid of this search bar here? I'm going to call that tab content inner left, or inner left, or let me say content wrap. It's content wrap. And then I'm gonna drop another one. I'm gonna insert another block there. So let me rename this to content wrap. I'm gonna rename this to image wrap. So I'm gonna call this, give it a class of tab content image wrap. So for this, I would think I'd like to make both of them. Let's see. Yep, I'll like to make both of them 100%, or both of them. I'm just gonna give them a flex grow of 1, and then for these tab content, I'm gonna set it like that. And okay, as a matter of fact, I really don't need to do this because we're dealing with blocks here, and blocks are 100% width. So I'm just gonna go here and set this to no wrap. It's not. So for this one, I'm going to give it a flex basis of, let's say, 30%. And for this one, I'm gonna give it a. Now I notice most of the stuff I'm doing there, I'm not doing it on the class, so I have to make sure I select the class. So if I give this a flex basis of 30% and give this a flex basis of let's say 70%, and okay, I think I'm having an issue with this. Not sure why. Let's see if I. Okay, because this is set to display as block. This pane is set to display as block, so that is why I'm having that issue. So I have to set it to display as flex, and then and then this. Am I having issues with it wrapping? Okay, let me get rid of the flex basis and go into the layout and just give it a a maximum width. So I'm going to give this one a maximum width of, I'll say 30%. And for these, I'm going to give it a maximum width of 70%. It seems the 30% is just too small, and the parent, oh, why am I having issues there? Display flex, this. So why am I having issues bringing them side by side? So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to convert this to a div and convert this to a div. Let's see. Okay. So this is a div and this is a div. And that is not helping anything. So let me take it back to a block. Block set to display flex. All right, let me try something else. I'm going to wrap this. With a block, and I'm going to move this inside there. Let's move this first, and I'm going to change that. Okay, so I will delete everything here. So so for some reason, maybe don't know, for some reason this wasn't working, so it needed me to wrap it with a block. So what I'm going to do is, let me just delete that, and then I'm going to add a class there also. So I'm just going to say tab content inner wrap. So that's what I'm going to call it, and then I'm going to set it to stack horizontally. Now I'm going to go in here and delete those min maximum width stuff because so they should stack normally, but the text has the image needs to take a bigger spot. So for the text, I'm gonna give it I'm gonna give the text wrap, the content wrap, a flex basis of, let's say, maybe 35%, and I'm gonna set the flex shrink to 0. So I don't want it to shrink, let it just stay at 35%. And for these, let me just call it inner wrap. I'm gonna set the children to stretch. Then for this, I'm gonna drop an image there, and that image, I'm gonna call it tab content image. And for that image, I want to give it a width of 100% and a height of auto. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and select the image. I don't have any image here yet, so I'll go ahead to download these images and then upload them. Alright, so I've gone ahead to upload those images, so let them load. And for the first one, this is the automated WordPress hosting image, so I'm just gonna choose that. It's the first one. Yep, come in. So that comes in. First, let's just quickly see how it looks at the front end. Okay, now so for the left, you can see that it has this padding up and left, and so it is not as big as this. So I'm gonna give it I think I'll give it a maximum height. Let me give it a maximum height. So I'm gonna give this the pen, I'm gonna give it a maximum height. But if I give it a maximum height, the contents are going to, so I have to deal with the content, which is this. So for this image, I need to give this, what do I do there? So I actually need to reduce this image. This image, I have to reduce it to make it smaller. Anyway, so let's do this. So I'm gonna go here to the content wrap and increase this to 50% first. Okay. I think that works. So let's solve that. That should work. So let's see how it works. Okay, that's about the size. Okay, so another thing is that another thing to note is that ours is quite wide. I think that has to do with the site width. So let me just take a look at this site with the width of this and see. It's about so this should be about 1200 width of the site. So I'm going to quickly change my site width. So I'm just going to go to settings. I think I would like to go to page settings. No, general. So that should be under theme settings. So I thought I could do that on the page level. So under page settings, to change your site your site width, so you just change the container width under the theme settings. So 1200. So that should give me the width of the site that I need. So now that image now looks a bit smaller than it should be. So that means I'm going to make this other one smaller, the text content. So the text content will no longer be, so I'm going to take it back to, let's say 35%. Let's see, let's make it 40. Now the beautiful thing about using the flex basis is that you don't have to deal with both of them. You just deal with just this one, and this other one is automatically 100%, but will, you know, make way because it has a flex shrink of 1. If you want to know more about the flex shrink and flex grow, you could check out this video I did on auto-responsive flexbox layout. So that seems to look good. Alright, so now let's deal with this padding. Okay, I'm going to select the content wrap, and from the looks of it, we only need the top and the right margin. Now, when it comes to stuff like margins like this, I think it's always good to have fluid values, and if I'm not mistaken, I should have a CSS in this install. Yeah, I have automatic CSS, so I'm going to use it. It's really very handy when you're dealing with, you know, fluid spacings. So I'm going to give it a top and left padding. And by the way, I never thought I was going to be using a CSS here, and I have a handy affiliate link. So if you'd like to support the channel, you could just use that affiliate link to get a CSS. So that gives me that. I think it's small. I think theirs is a bit bigger. So they have much bigger at the top, and then just a little bit bigger than what I have here. So instead of having that, I'm gonna have L here, and then here I'm gonna have XL, which is the extra large space, and that is gonna be fluid because it's based on fluid typography. You can see that at this breakpoint it's smaller than it was at this breakpoint. So and of course you could always tighten up how small it looks, you know, how fast it reduces the spacing generally on mobile breakpoints in the settings. So I have that. So let's see, now this is looking good. Of course we don't have other content. Now my text looks a bit small. This looks like an 18-point size, and still I would like to put a padding top here. So for the margin top, I mean a margin top here. So first of all, let me be sure that I'm doing all this on the classes. I hope I don't have any styling on the IDs, so I need all the stylings to be on the classes. So the margin top, I'm just going to give it a var space let's say M. Okay, is that too far apart? Yeah, M should be okay. And then for this text, let me go to typography, and I'm gonna give it a font size of var text. Let's take that away. Text M, and that is the medium text size, which is the 18-point size, and I think I like to align it to the left. Let's see how it looks. Okay, so getting closer. Yeah, so that, and of course we're using different typefaces, so it's gonna look different, but I'm not worried about that. The layout is what we are worried about. So this looks good. Okay, let's just go ahead. Since we're using classes, we could always change these things. Okay, so what's the next thing to do? So we have these design already set up. So the next thing we're going to do is let's just populate all of them. So I'm going to duplicate the pane, 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm gonna go into each of them. So I'm gonna select real-time backup. For some reason, when you duplicate it at first, it doesn't. So I'm gonna refresh this. See, this the second one. The second one. So this is the second pane. We'll replace that image with the calendar image. I'm not sure if you should sit through you know, me replacing these images, but let's just go. So the calendar image, I have the calendar image there. All right, so that's the last one, and let's see how it looks. So we have this, we have this, we have this, this. Okay, so everything looks about the same. I'm not quite sure if I've missed anything. Maybe the text style here is kind of, the non-active text is a bit lighter, so I'll have to do that, and also make sure that it's not bold. Okay, so for the tab, I think I'm going to select the text, the tab, and give it a text color of something. Let me choose a color from the default. Okay, something like that. But the active class from the active typography, I think I'd already done that. I'm not quite sure why I lost that. Has to be darker and bolder. So that means I'm gonna go back to the main typography. We're selecting the tab in this case. Yep. Select that, and it's not gonna be as bold as that. So that font. Why? So that font size is not reducing, but our color worked, right? But the font size is not reducing, the font weight I mean. So give it 400 should be it, but it's not taking effect. So that is not good. But let's leave that. Okay, so on to the next thing. So we have this, and let's see, this has a little bit of a flashing effect. Not quite sure if that is built in to bricks. So let's see that content, background color. So the flash effect is not built in. So I don't think I'm gonna waste time with that. Our text is broken, so let me just fix that. I don't know why it's broken. Okay, because we copied it and pasted it, and so some things had to break. Okay. Just copy that. Okay, I think that should look okay. That looks okay. Now on to the next thing, which is the responsive mode. Let's go down. Now at this point, you can see that. So let's look at ours responsive. So everything. So my text is starts breaking apart at this point. And also I think I need a bottom margin, bottom padding. So let's deal with that first. So I'm gonna go in here and the same at the top. I'm just gonna copy it to the bottom. Save that and let's take a look again. All right, okay. And also these this doesn't want to sit at the bottom, so what I'm going to do is to make sure that it sits at the bottom by all means. So that means I'm going to select that image wrap, and I will want to make sure that it sits at the bottom. Yep, in. So no matter how tall this gets, that will always sit at the bottom. So let me save that and let's see if it's gonna help here. Okay, so that sits at the bottom, but I think we will need to do something at this point. We would need them. So let's see how theirs looks. It's big here. At this breakpoint, I think the text is smaller. So yeah, the text goes down to 14. So let's see. For ours, we need that text to be a bit smaller. So this is breakpoint of 974. So I'm going to check my breakpoints. It's 990. So let's check my biggest breakpoints. So let me just quickly move here, since I'm using that for the sizings. I'm just quickly gonna put that here, 1200, and this 992, 768. Yep, so that's just about right. I'm gonna go into my typography. So I want to override this my size, so my smallest size can be 14 and I can still keep my biggest size as 18. So let's see if that is going to help with that typography at this point. Okay, so that is giving me about 16 here. So if I go all the way down, 16, so it's reducing all the way to 14 here. Maybe now, so for their own, at what breakpoint does this break into? So we see at a 768 breakpoint. So I guess that this typography is we probably need it to be smaller. So let me see. So yeah, we actually need it to be smaller than what it is now. Let me see if I make this okay, so what I just did there is try out something. So so what I'm going to do is, because of that sizing issue, I'm going to select this content wrap, and then at this I think at this breakpoint, at this breakpoint, I'm going to give it a flex basis of 50%. So, and then for the font, the font size, I think I think, yeah, something is wrong here. Okay, this text M. No, okay, it's okay. Okay, I didn't see that. Why is it showing text and then M? Anyway, I'm just gonna call it var text at that size. Let me try text S. That's too small, so what I'm going to do is to calculate var text S and then just multiply it by, say, 1.2, just 20% bigger, and that is going to give me my result. Let me see if we're going to have, so yeah, so we have that we have that look up till 768. So that's what we needed. We needed it to be good enough up till 768. Something is also wrong here. That means we need to really reduce, they have really reduced the font size here. So I'm going to really take this down. So let me go from here, yeah, from here is good, from here it's really bad. So do I take it down from here? Yeah, I'm going to take it down from here. So I'm going to go to the tab, the div there, make sure that class is selected, okay, the tab div, and I'm going to go all to typography, and the font size for text M, and that makes it bigger, text S, yeah. So let's see. So this is the kind of thing you have to really look at back and forth. So when we get there, so you see that our texts are good up till this point. Now why am I having a large, why, what is this?
What is this? This feels wrong.
Oh mine, I don't know, where did I get that from?
I don't get it. Give me a second.
Where did it come from? Content text. I'm not quite sure when I did that. It must have been a mistake. Anyway, so yeah, so at this point it's and this should also drop at that point. So from the very so this is an h3, so there's a variable for h3. Let me see if I can give it that variable for h3. So let me give it a variable for h2. It's not working, so I'm just gonna give it space, sorry, did I say space? Text M. Why? What is this? Content text. Why is it, why do I keep having that? I'm not quite sure what is going on here. So I keep having this content text, yeah. Okay, let me just give this at this breakpoint, I'm gonna give it a font size of, so text S. So S is not good, M. So yep, so I'm giving M there. Okay, so I'll save that and let's see how it looks once this refreshes. So we have that there, and yep, it goes down, and now at this point it's time to break it down. Okay, so the next thing is to break it into cards like this. So you see what happens here is the tabs disappear, and then this becomes like regular cards. And so what we have to first of all determine is to get the classes for the tabs, because Bricks doesn't expose these classes. So this pen, we need the classes for this pen. So let me just collapse everything. So we need the classes for this pen. Bricks doesn't expose it. So so what I'm going to do is to check the front end. I'm going to bring in the dev tool to the side here, and then I want to select that pen. So select, where is that pen? The Bricks class for it is called Tab Pen, so it's very important to take note of that, Tab Pen. And then for this one, we don't have a problem with that. We're gonna sort that out. So the first thing we need to do is gonna be at these breakpoints, where I'm gonna select these the tabs, and I'm gonna go to layout display. Let me just search for display, none. And at this point I want to get rid of the top margin here. So the top margin was 30. I'm going to take it back to 0, and then I'm going to go inside the pen, and the inner wrap and also the tab contents was a flex basis of 50. I'm going to change that to 100%. And for the image wrap, now it's important that all these are done on the class, so that it's going to affect all the other tabs. So this is why you give classes, because you don't want to go into each of these tabs individually. So for this one, I'm going to center the text, And I'm also going to go into the typography settings, because the typography settings should be inherited, but it's not. So I'm going to select the good thing we had a class there, and I'm going to make that center. And then for this one, I'm also going to go to the image wrap, make sure that the class is active. Yep. And I have to center that image. Anyway, this image is large, so this empty space is still part of the image, so it looks as if it is not centralized, so that is okay. Then how do we break this, how do we make these tabs, you know, individual, break it into different pieces? So for now they are all hidden, so I'm going to go back to the pane. So we need all of this to show, so I'm going to select that pane, and I'm going to go to the custom CSS, and I'm going to write root. Now that root targets the pane, so I'm going to write that root, and what I'm going to target is that class that we saw here, that tab pane, because the tab pane is set to display none when it is not showing. You see, it's set to display none when it is not showing. So I'm going to say root dot tab pane. I'm going to set it to display block. So let's see. Okay, so you see they are all out here, and it doesn't look like our heading looks really good. So I'm going to go in and just increase the size of that heading at this breakpoint once more. It was var text am, so I'm going to just call it initial. It's not working, so I'm just going to give it a var. So let me just give it text xl, text l. So at that breakpoint, I think I would like it to be text L and centralized so that it looks good. So you can see that that separates. So we need to push it apart. So if you take a look at this, you have that space now. So what I'm going to do is to select the pane. I think I should select the content and go into that gap and give it a row gap of, say, 20 pixel. It's not working. Is it column gap? No, it's not working. So why is it not working? Oh, did it work? Column gap of 20, row gap of, okay, yeah, it was row gap. It worked. It worked. So I didn't see it, but it worked. So yeah, we have the gap. So let me make it 50, so it's going to be obvious. Problem is it doesn't look like. So now if I come here, you can see that we have them, but that row gap doesn't look like anything is happening. There's a gap there, but it looks like we have a color. So did we by any chance have a background color in that? Okay, so the background color was not white for the content, so I'm gonna give it a background color of white, so that at these points we can see. Why is it still not showing? So I give it a background color of white, right? Yes. Yeah, okay, so make sure it's really white. Okay, so let's see how that looks when this refreshes. Okay, so we have that space. Looks good, even though the spacing here is smaller, but I think I can easily take that back, so which can just go back to here and make it 20. All right, so let's look at the overall styling. Okay, so remember we had a left top and left margin and also a bottom, so we will have to make that up. So we have to bring back those margin to all of them. That was a content wrap, and make sure that is selected. I'm going to layout. So let's go back here and I'm just gonna copy this, and at this breakpoint I'm gonna paste that in so that everything looks good. Then I'm gonna save that and view at the front end. Okay, so let me move this away. Okay, so now everything is broken from the beginning. So how do we solve this? So everything is showing up from the beginning. To solve this, I'm gonna go back to where we have that CSS. So where did we have that CSS? We had that CSS. I thought we had CSS indicator, but it's not, for some reason I'm not seeing it. Custom CSS. So we have root. Now this is showing up at the, we need it to show up only at the lower breakpoint. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to say at media maximum width. Sorry, not maximum width. So I'm going to use minimum width because we need this to be, so the minimum width will be 769. So 769 pixel, because we needed to start stacking at 768. And then I'm going to put this, I'm going to copy this and drop this here. So at the larger breakpoints, we want that to display none. Okay, so we don't want it to display at the larger breakpoint, but we want it to display block at the lower breakpoint. So at the larger breakpoint, it doesn't display. And then we go here, doesn't display, and then once come here, it start displaying. So let's look at the front end and see what happens. So yeah, at the larger breakpoint, everything looks great here. And then as we go in, good, it breaks and starts. I think I have a very large space here, which I don't like. I think I might just do away with that border, that bottom border, bottom padding at that breakpoint. So at this breakpoint for these, I want to do away with the bottom padding. So let me go back to the layout, and the padding, I had a padding at the bottom. Yep. So here I want to set it to 0. Set that to 0. Yep. And then for the image wrap, yeah, the image wrap is okay. That is the whole height of the image. That image wrap text. Okay. So yep. Let's see. Refresh. Yep. Okay. So we have the cards like that. Good. And then, yep. All right, so that's it for today's video. I hope you learned something. It was quite a ride. I hope you don't mind me leaving in all those troubleshooting parts, those bits. And you may have noticed that my interface is a bit different, like all this highlighting. So if you're interested in, tweaking up your interface, check out this video on, Bricks Builder interface tweaks, and get the code for it, and you'll get an instruction on how to get your interface to look like this. All right, till next time, have a great day. Bye.